Welcome back to another live and amplified Indie Fusion podcast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. Joining us all the way from Florida, we have Faith Alene. How's it going today?
I'm really good. Hi.
Excited to have you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, it's. I feel like this has been one of those that's been in the works for a while, but we're finally here. So you're based out of Florida now. Are you born and raised in Florida, or no? You're originally from Long Island, right?
Yes, yeah, I was born and raised on Long Island, but about a year and a half ago, I moved to Florida.
Gotcha. You are actually the second guest in a row that's been from Long Island.
Really? That is so funny.
I don't know how this happens. Like it seems to be happening a little bit more and more where like I'll have two or three guests that are all like from the same area, and then I won't do a podcast for a little bit, and then that it'll reset itself. So it started in Boston, then landed in Philly, and now we're in Long Island. So
Island's a great place, so.
right. Oh, so you said you've been in Florida now for a year and a half?
Yes.
Oh, what brought you to Florida?
A lot of things. There's a lot of family reasons and things like that, but I'm really grateful for the move, and it's been opening up lots of opportunities for me.
Nice. So growing up in Long Island, um, how did you get introduced to music? Was that through your family, or was that just something you kind of found naturally?
Yeah, my family is not very musical. At least my parents aren't. They're not big into music, but all of my siblings and I all are really into music, which is really funny because nobody knows where it came from. Um, but how I really got introduced to music, I'd say, is my grandfather and Broadway. Since I lived on Long Island, I was close to the city, so my grandfather, when I was like 2 and 3, used to bring me to see Broadway shows, and I would just watch the performance on stage and just want to be there, just wanted to be on stage performing and singing when I grew up. So that was really my introduction to all of that. And then as I got older, I didn't love acting as much, so I wanted to lean into more singing and songwriting and all that kind of stuff. And my brother played guitar before me, so during around COVID, I kind of stole his guitar and started to teach myself and all that. And just music has always been a very important part of my life.
Fair. Was there like a specific pivotal moment that you realized that Broadway or acting wasn't really something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, it was around the beginning of COVID. I was in musical theater. I did like community productions a lot growing up. And, you know, I always loved the singing part, the acting part. It was fun and it was definitely something I enjoyed doing, but it wasn't my favorite. And around COVID, once like theater was one of the first things to go when
Hmm.
COVID, I started to realize like I could sing and it didn't have to be in musical theater. Like I could do what I love and it didn't have to include acting. It didn't have to include being someone I'm not. I could be myself and be on stage. I guess around there is when I started to realize that and when I started to really put an emphasis on being my own artist.
Nice. So it started off as Broadway, and you just kind of figured acting was something you'd have to do if you wanted to pursue singing as a career. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, I lived in New York, so I was
Yeah.
the natural my kid head was like, I'll be on Broadway,
Right.
because to sing, but you know, I rather not. I rather not act. I rather just sing and play my guitar. So
Fair. Very fair. So during COVID, when you were taking your brother's guitar, learning how to like play and all that stuff, who were you listening to, or what were you kind of teaching yourself when you were learning how to play?
yeah, I mean, back then I was really into Taylor Swift. Like I still love her music, but back then I was like into it. And her songs are very easy to learn on the guitar. They're like the same four chords over and over again. So I really started with those a lot. And she has some really pretty picking songs. So learning those kind of songs just from watching YouTube videos really helps me like get on that side of the guitar where I really love to finger pick now. And even though I don't play as much Taylor Swift as I used to, the skills I picked up from all that finger picking really translated into my own original music and the songs that I choose to cover now.
Nice, nice. What's the most unique song you cover right now?
Ooh, that's a good question. Uh, When Will I Be Loved is a pretty unique one. I don't
Hmm.
hear cover that one. And it's always a crowd pleaser. Everyone always loves that one.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so did you spend most of your time during the pandemic like learning other people's music, or when did you kind of start playing around with writing your own stuff?
Yeah, I mean, uh, I started writing on the guitar after I started
Hmm.
learning color, but I've always kind of written songs. Like when I was a kid, when I'd play with my toys, instead of having them talk to each other, like I'd have like songs in my head that they were singing back and forth to each other. I've just always kind of had that in my head. So after I started to teach myself guitar and learn these covers, it was just kind of natural for me to start putting chords to them. But I've kind of always been a writer and always kind of been writing. But learning the guitar really, really helps with that and really helped me kind of accept that that's something I might want to do with the rest of my life.
Nice, nice, nice. And so then you moved to Florida about a year and a half ago. It's hard to realize like the pandemic has been almost exactly 4 years. Like from when it first started to now, it's been almost exactly 4 years. And it's like that's not a whole lot of time, but it feels like it was so long ago. Uh, so were you starting to like performance stuff before you moved to Florida, or was that something you started doing once you got down to Florida?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I was doing musical theater and things like
Hmm.
that. Um, and my homeschool group was also a dance school in
Yeah.
Florida. So I had like a group, like a co-op. And it was also a dance school, and they had competitions, like dance competitions, that would also allow singers. So my teacher there kind of realized that, oh my gosh, she loves to sing and she's starting to learn guitar. So she had me go to these dance competitions that also allowed singers at the competition and start playing the guitar on stage there. And that was kind of my first big crowd playing with a guitar. And I would also do my youth group would have a band and I'd play guitar there in New York. But actually going out and gigging stuff and doing restaurants and things like that, I started once I was in Florida.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so that kind of leads you up to your first single, which is out now. Um, which is really exciting. The fact that you've been, like you're 4 years in, but really like a year and a half. I'm gonna assume it's more like a year and a half that you've been taking it seriously. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah.
You got your first single out, Skin and Bones, which is absolutely amazing. I enjoy the song. It's on the playlist of Tom's road trip jams. So it's there. So whenever I go on a road trip, it plays however long how many ever times. So when did you kind of start writing this song?
Yeah, so I wrote this song like exactly after I moved, so like a year
Mm,
and a half. And I was just having like a really hard day and there was a lot of like I don't know, hard things in my life at that time. I mean, moving isn't easy and I had some weird like relationships go south,
mm.
a lot of sad things, you know. And I sat down to write a song about it like I normally do. And I pulled out my guitar and I tried to write lyrics and I was just so overwhelmed with emotion that nothing was really coming out to write it. And so I kind of just had to take a step back and just start playing the guitar. And that's kind of when it happened. Like I've yet to write a song the way I wrote Skin and Bones, where it just kind of came out. Like I don't like I was just strumming the guitar, playing the chords, and it was almost like I was just talking about my life, you know, but in lyrics. And I love how the song came out so much. And it was so much fun writing it. And it was so therapeutic for me.
Nice, nice, nice. Wait, you said this is the only song that you've written that came out like this, where it came out like, you know, all at once and whatnot. Um, do you think it was the like the subject matter? Do you think it was just like you were like in the right place at the right time, or what do you think it was about this song specifically?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of things. It might have been just like the subject matter and just the craziness that was going on in my life at that time where I don't know, it could have been a lot of things
Yeah.
that it was fun. I do think the approach where I took was different. And that's the thing about songwriting is it's good to have a formula
Hmm.
where you like a basis for writing songs. And I recently put out a video with my formula where I basically like how the basic steps to writing songs. And I write a lot of good songs like that. But you have to switch it up once in a while. Like if you
Yeah.
consist the same way, songs are not going to come out good anymore. You have to like take a deep breath and kind of switch it up. And I feel like Skin and Bones is really my switch up for that period of my life.
Yeah.
And that's why the song like it did because it was just different. The writing style was different. My mood was different. Everything was different in my life. And so the song kind of had a freedom where I wasn't trying to make it perfect in the moment. It kind of just let it be what it was going to be.
Nice, nice. I think that's kind of the key in songwriting in general is just kind of finding the comfortability with A, being uncomfortable in writing the song, but also the comfortability of it not being perfect and it not needing to be perfect. Like I think once a musician kind of really hones in on that and comes to those terms, they can just really start to, turn out songs because it's like, okay, I'm in this mood. I want to write a song about this. We're just going to go, and whatever comes out, it may not be perfect, but it's going to be what it is, you know?
Exactly. You know, if you try, like especially in art, in all types of art forms, like
Yeah.
even paint stuff, it's supposed to make you feel. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be a formulaic thing, you know. You're just supposed to feel it. And a lot of times, like I'm guilty of this too recently too. I'm just trying to like write, you know, I just want to write a good song and all this kind of stuff. But the real art happens when you're not trying.
Hmm.
Really important. And it's just good to reset sometimes.
Yeah. 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 This doesn't exactly correlate, but this happened today. And the fact that we're kind of on this topic of conversation is quite interesting. I was at work. So I work for a TV station, and I was helping one of our guys do something. Yeah, I was cutting, like we have a storm vehicle for when our weather guys go out chasing severe weather and whatnot, and they wanted me to cut the car out of a photo. So I did that, and you know what? Sent it to them. They're like, "Perfect. This is going to work. This is going to be great." And my boss comes in right behind me, and she's like, are you gonna fix the tire there? It's not perfectly round. I was like, no, because it's what they wanted, so I'm not gonna touch it. And she's like, well, I would say this is about a B. Don't you want to make it an A? And I looked at her and I was like, well, I'm gonna tell you something. This is what I learned in college. Doesn't matter whether I get an A or a B, I'm still gonna graduate. So, and she looked at me and it was like, okay, fair enough. And I kind of feel like that approach to songwriting, whereas like that song's either going to be like that song could be perfect or it can not be perfect.
Yeah.
It's still going to give you the right feeling.
Yeah, for like the actual songwriting process, it's good to be loose. You can always like for Skin and Bones, I went back and I edited some things and I changed some things from the
Yeah,
original. Just to write a good song, you just have to be vulnerable and you have to just let it all out. And then
yeah,
of course back and make it an A,
yeah,
but it comes out because that's what you need. You just need it there. You need clay in order to mold the clay, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Absolutely, 100% agree. So with Skin and Bone, you said you started writing this like right after you moved to Florida.
Yeah.
What was it about this song specifically that's made you kind of want to be put it out for made this the first single for you?
I mean, I love this song so much. The melody is just really catchy to me. Like I'll hum it all day long. The lyrics are really meaningful to me, and it was really honest. And I wanted something that was representing of me, you know, and the melody's upbeat and it's an upbeat song, but it does have a like a sadness to it in the lyrics, and honesty to it. And I really do feel like that represents me as an artist, where I love to spread joy, I love to spread positivity, but I'm honest, I'm
Mm.
truthful, and I my music. So I thought Skin and Bones was a perfect option.
Nice. And so looking forward into we're approaching summer, like summer's weeks away at this point. What's kind of the plans heading into the rest of the summer?
Yeah, I got a demo in the works.
Nice.
So hopefully song is coming soon. I would love if we got that done soon. I'm very, very busy coming up soon, so it's gonna be lots of fun. I'm hopefully gonna go to this really, really cool camp. It's called Mountain Music Camp, where they teach you about like dulcimers and things like
What?
that and old fashioned. So I'm really excited to go to that because I love dulcimers and I really love to learn how to play from someone who studied it for years. So I'm looking forward to going to that in the summer.
Nice.
Lots of games, things like that. I have the Georgina Opry coming up soon. That's not gonna be in the summer, but it's in 2 weeks from now. Um, I made it to the top six, which was really, really cool. And I was so happy when I got the news. So that's going to be exciting coming up. Yeah. And I'm gonna post it all on Instagram, so you'll be
Nice.
updated.
Awesome. Awesome. It seems like you're going to be doing a lot of traveling this summer then,
Yes, which I'm excited for. I love traveling.
right? Me too. Me too. I've got two trips coming up at the end of May and I'm like, oh boy, I hope I'm ready for this because it's like I'm going to Nashville beginning of June and I'm going to Muscle Shoals the end of May and it's like, oh, so I'm basically going to the same place, just 2 hours difference, but it is what it is. So, um, you'd mentioned that you're going to a summer camp. Is that up in like in back up in New York or where's that at?
Yeah, the camp is in Virginia, I believe,
Okay.
either Virginia. I've never been to the area it's held. I found it when I was at Gamble Rogers. It was in the packet, an advertisement for it, and I was really interested because I love that type of music. I love mountain music. I love old folk. Um, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity to study it in person because I've studied it online over YouTube and
Yeah.
with to the music, but to hear it from people who have played that music for years, and to learn from people who have put their heart and soul into this genre, I feel like will really help me just grow in my knowledge and love of this genre.
Yeah, for sure. It's Florida's actually a really good place. They got a lot of like bluegrass and old timey like mountain type music. They do a lot of festivals down in Florida, so you're in a good spot for it. So,
I mean, God worked so perfectly with moving me to Florida. Like
right,
I
right,
want to, but
yeah,
every perfect for the music scene and perfect for my genre. So many good folk festivals. I've been trying to hit as many as I can, but it's festival season, so everything's going on at once.
nice,
But
nice.
Florida's amazing.
It is. It's really cool. I spent a few years in Florida. My dad actually um lives in South Florida, and he has a cabin up in what is it, an hour north of Orlando in Georgetown, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, him and his girlfriend, they have a cabin up there. So I've not been to it. I haven't been to Florida in a few years, so it'll, maybe one of these days. But um, so Florida's definitely a really cool spot, and I enjoy it. One thing about you and what you've got going on, I enjoyed the what was it, the guitar picks and Eclipse video you put it up on TikTok about
uh-huh.
about the apocalypse or something coming.
Yeah.
That I showed it to my boss after the eclipse and she was just crying laughing and I was like, you're not even a musician and you still get it. It's hilarious. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that something that you try and do more frequently now, is like that original type content for TikTok or
Yeah, I mean, those video ideas are really hard to think of, but when they pop up into my head, I'm always gonna film them. I think it's so fun to like do funny funny things like that. And like the eclipse, that was a perfect opportunity. I just saw so many people doing conspiracy theories about it, and so many people like so scared of it. And like, the moon's going over the sun. Like,
Right.
so I just, I'm so grateful I got the idea for that. And if I get any more ideas for things like that, I'm definitely gonna film them right away. Yeah,
Right.
but TikTok place where I've been experimenting a lot with content because it's a different audience than Facebook and Instagram. You can really experiment with a lot. Like they have these like pictures that you can swipe, like all these new features. So all of my content there is a little goofier than on Instagram.
Fair.
But yeah.
Nice. I'm trying to get better at TikTok. I upload every once in a while, but TikTok for me, it feels like TikTok, you have to be the center of the video or it's not going to work. And I don't know. I'm just not comfortable doing that right now. So, like, I'm okay doing videos that I have to be in, but if I have to be some like extroverted personality or something like that, yeah, that's kind of where my line is getting drawn at right now. So,
It's definitely hard on TikTok. But just the more you're like you make yourself like the center in front of the camera, the easier it gets. Like when I was first starting to film TikToks, like even on Instagram, like starting to film Instagrams, like I hated talking to the camera. I
mm,
didn't know. But just the more you do it and the more you give yourself grace and the less perfection you try to put into it, the easier it gets.
fair. Yeah, I totally get it. I 100% get it. So outside of music, obviously you got the new single out now. It's up on Spotify and all the streaming platforms, and you're working on more stuff as we speak. What are you doing kind of outside of music when you need time to relax or decompress or whatever it is?
Yeah, I love archery. I do that a lot to just kind of take a step back. It's a very, very good sport for relaxing because when you shoot, you can only focus on the arrow hitting the target or else you miss. Like you have to have full concentration. It's a very mental sport. So I love doing that because it kind of forces me to just relax and it forces me to take a step back and focus on it. So that I love archery so much. I like to read. Reading's really fun. I love lots of books. I recently read Les Mis, so that was really fun. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Nice, nice, nice. Is art? I do now that you brought up archery. I remember seeing you posted some photos like up on Instagram or Facebook, right? Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Oh, we definitely got to talk about that." I'm glad you brought it up. So
Mhm.
now, you like just doing like target shooting, or are you like an avid archery like hunter and all that stuff? Or
Yeah, I would love to get into hunting. The bow right now is not suitable for large game. It can only shoot small game, and I
Mhm.
don't want to risk that because if I see a deer, I'm gonna shoot it even if I don't have the right arrows. So I don't want to put myself in a situation like that quite yet until I have a bow with the right poundage.
Mhm.
But archery, which is very similar to hunting, where it's a 3D target the size of an animal, and you have to shoot it. So that's a good medium for me right now, since my arrows just my bow weight will not do that for an animal right now.
Fair.
But I love 3D archery, I think the most. Target shooting is really, really fun. Um, but I don't know how to explain it. When you're doing 3D archery, you really, really have to focus. No, sorry, when you're doing target archery, you really, really have to focus. But when it's 3D, my brain kind of just goes shoot the animal, and then the arrow just goes where the animal is. So
Yeah.
it's a lot easier. I some like every archer's different. Some archers prefer target, some prefer the 3D, but 3D is just easier for me to do. Like I don't even know why. It's just because I guess you don't have to mark the distance either. So I'm not focused, oh, this is 40 yards, 50 yards, it just kind of is what it is. And the goal is to shoot the animal. And I just don't focus that much on the little intricate things and it works out better.
Fair. To me, it seems like target shooting is more, you have, like, if you're shooting a target, you're trying to get a bullseye. And so it's like a very specific detail that you're trying to hit. Whereas with an animal, yeah, once you move from 3D target shooting to like an actual animal, there's a certain place that you have to hit. But in this certain spectrum, just wherever you hit it is where you hit it. So it's not quite as
Yeah,
technical.
on the 3D animal targets they have like kill So it's not as tiny as a target, like the target bullseye, but they have like this little circle where it
Mm,
shows actual animal here, it will kill that animal. So it still has a target kind of, but it's not as like it's more forgiving than
mm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I got you. It's been a while since I've shot archery. When I was in the scouts, every summer we went archery shooting, and it was always a really good time. I always enjoyed it. So I definitely see the appeal, and if I could, I would, but I just don't have the time to get back into it, you know. It's just one of those things. It's like something's got to give, you know.
I get that.
No, that's cool. And then so besides that, we talked a little bit about this off camera, but you're playing out pretty consistently. Didn't you just play a Renaissance fair or something?
No, not a Renaissance fair, but I did do Gamble Rogers. I think that's might be
Okay.
what you yeah, I had a pretty Renaissance fairy outfit on.
Okay,
But
there you go.
was a super duper fun festival. They had a whole stage dedicated to youth folk, which I thought was really, really important, highlighting the youth. And it was a great time. There was a lot of supportive people there willing to help younger artists out. There's a lot of sweet younger artists too. Like I met this girl who's on like a tour right now. We exchanged Instagram. She was super,
Nice.
super I always love going to festivals because you meet people who like do what you do and have the same dreams as you have, and it's just so fun to support other artists and meet people your age who also work hard like you do, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's like that's such an invaluable thing, especially when you kind of have those opportunities to sit down and meet people of different experiences, like some people that are still young but been doing it for a lot of years, or somebody like yourself that has been performing for a lot of years but really have just started kind of exploring their own voice, you know. So the fact that you recognize that is really cool. um So, kind of looking forward, you'd mentioned that you're hoping to have a demo out. What do you, or do you hope to have like a full length project, or you kind of see yourself staying in the singles realm?
I think for now, singles is the best on a business perspective, because a whole album is would be really, really hard to advertise. And even though I would love to do that one day, I think singles are a great way to build up a fan base and build up an audience. And it's like not as much pressure for me, you know.
Mm,
It's easier to do a whole single and promote it than a whole album. Like I just don't have as many resources right now to be able to do a full album. But singles, it's just better from a business perspective and from a time perspective right now. Because like a whole album, doing that would probably take me like a year to record everything.
yeah,
And I don't want music out for a whole year, you know, like I want to keep putting songs out.
yeah,
Um, I'm gonna go the single route, until, you know, until I build up a good enough fan base where I have resources and I have the time and I have all of that where I would love to record an album one day.
yeah. I think you kind of touched on something that's really interesting there, is like, especially early on in your career, being so young, the obviously the appeal of putting out an album is what every musician dreams of doing. Is, oh yeah, if I'm going to do music, I want to put out a full-length album, which is, you know, makes all the sense in the world. But when you don't have the resources to do it quickly, like go in and cut the entire album and set aside 10 days, 14 days, you know, like whatever it is, singles is just kind of the way to go. Because if you sit there and wait for the full album, what's to say people are going to care in a year and a half when you have it ready?
Uh,
So it's kind of interesting that you brought that up and you kind of worded it the way you did. So
yeah, and also singles, you can just like give each song the attention I think it deserves, you know?
mm, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Um, so I really appreciate you, and appreciate your time. I'm glad we got this rescheduled. I know we were supposed to do this last week, but really appreciate your time. for anybody that wants to check out your music or check out anything you got going on, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I'm at Instagram, Faithfully Music, YouTube, Faithfully Music, TikTok, Faithfully Music, everything Faithfully Music. So, uh, anything, I'm on Spotify, Faithfully Music. I'd be happy with them checking anywhere. I'm mostly post on Instagram the most, so you'll find the most content there. But anything you want to check me out on, I'd be so grateful and so happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Instagram's kind of where everybody's at anyways. So I
Yeah.
I used to think Facebook was the place to be, and now Facebook, it's like hard to get any kind of interaction, and it's like you have to like kill yourself just to get like a couple of people to like comment. And but Instagram, it's just like, okay, like I feel like this is it's not easy, but people are actually paying attention on Instagram. So but once
Uh,
again, Faith, really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. It's been an absolute blast. You're welcome back on anytime. We'll definitely once you kind of get the next single or what have you figured out. Definitely love to have you back on and we can sit down and jump into it and all that fun stuff. But once again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.